Patrick Hicks Music Stories presents Every Grammys Ever, the 38th Annual Grammy Awards, February 28th, 1996. Alright, we are coming off a low for the Grammys last year. We're at the halfway point of the decade, and the Grammys has been a debacle so far. But this year offers a little glimmer of hope. Tonight is actually good. Tonight's host is Ellen DeGeneres, who will host 2 times. Last year was Paul Reiser, who wasn't great, but there was too much else to talk about to mention him. Starting off with Best New Artist, we've got some 90s icons nominated. Shania Twain, Alanis Morissette, Brandy, then not an icon, but a big one-hit wonder. We've got Joan Osborne, the What If God Was One of Us singer. And then the winners, Hootie and the Blowfish, who were kind of a joke at the time. Like, music snobs didn't really take them seriously, but if you put on a Hootie and the Blowfish song today, I guarantee you I will be singing every word. They also win Best Pop Performance tonight for the song Let Her Cry. In Song of the Year, we see a couple of those Best New Artist nominees. You've got Joan Osborne's One of Us and Alanis Morissette's You Oughta Know, but the winner is Seal with the song Kiss from a Rose.
Did you know that when it snows, my eyes become alive, the light that you shine can you see? Baby, I can beat to a kiss from a rose on the grave.
He also wins in Record of the Year, beating out Coolio's Gangsta's Paradise, TLC's Waterfalls, and Mariah Carey and Boyz II Men's record-breaking song One Sweet Day, which opened the show. Mariah Carey was one of the big nominees tonight with 6, and she actually goes winless tonight, which causes a lot of controversy. Now, the most notable win for the night for me is that Nirvana finally wins their first and only Grammy. This, of course, is almost a year after Kurt Cobain's tragic suicide. Their album MTV Unplugged in New York came out in November of 1994, and it wins Best Alternative Music Performance. And weirdly, there are only 4 nominees in this category this year, but it's a really good category. Foo Fighters' debut album, Bjork's Post, and PJ Harvey's To Bring You My Love. But just absolutely disgusting that this is Nirvana's only win given what they meant for the decade and for music in general. This should have been an Album of the Year contender. How are you going to give Album of the Year awards to 2 MTV Unplugs, and they are Eric Clapton and Tony Bennett, and not the most iconic MTV Unplugged there is, MTV Unplugged in New York? It's crazy. And maybe we should recap, since grunge is basically over by now. Here's the track record of the big 4 grunge bands at the Grammys. Nirvana, 1 win out of 6 nominations. Alice in Chains, 0 wins out of 9 nominations. Soundgarden, only those 2 wins from last year out of 8 nominations. And then Pearl Jam, who do get their first win tonight. Their song Spin the Black Circle wins in Best Hard Rock Performance, beating out Primus's Winona's Big Brown Beaver, a song from Van Halen, Alice in Chains, and a Red Hot Chili Peppers song Blood Sugar Sex Magic, which is from 1991. This is Pearl Jam's only win out of 14 nominations. That includes some nominations that they got at the 2025 awards, so maybe they'll win more, but maybe not, because when accepting this award, Eddie Vedder went on stage and said,
I don't know what this means. I don't think it means anything. That's just how I feel.
Which is kind of the central question of this entire series. Do the Grammys mean anything? Do they mean anything to anybody? Would they have meant something to Eddie Vedder if a band like The who he worshipped, had actually won a Grammy when they deserved it back in the 60s and 70s? I don't really know. That's why I'm studying their history. But there are some pretty big victories for grunge and grunge-adjacent alternative music coming up later tonight. We'll get to that. Let's talk about one cool thing. Tom Petty wins his first ever Grammy as a solo artist tonight in Best Male Rock Vocal for You Don't Know How It Feels. His album Wildflowers is also nominated for Best Rock Album but lost. And now let's take a look at the rap categories tonight. We see the introduction of a new category, the long overdue Best Rap Album. But the first year of nominees, we get Tupac getting one of his first 2 nominations tonight for Me Against the World. Old Dirty Bastard is nominated for Return to the 36 Chambers. This is a good night for Wu-Tang Clan members. Method Man gets a win tonight in Best Rap Performance by a Duo or Group for his song with Mary J. Blige, I'll Be There For You. But also in Best Rap Album, we have Skee-Lo nominated for I Wish, Bone Thugs and Harmony nominated for E! 1999 Eternal, but the winner is Naughty by Nature's album Poverty's Paradise, which is kind of a weird choice, but at least we finally have a rap album category. And speaking of Tupac, he had some other highlights at this year's Grammys. He introduced Kiss, who were in full makeup for the first time in years. And he's also nominated in Best Solo Rap Performance for Dear Mama, along with Notorious B.I.G. in his first nomination for Big Papa, but they both lose to Coolio's Gangsta's Paradise, and neither Pac or Biggie ever win a Grammy in their far too short careers. Now, here are the nominees for Album of the Year. It's a fascinating group this year. Those big gains for grunge/alternative I was talking about earlier, Pearl Jam gets their first and only Album of the Year nomination for Vitalogy. Alanis Morissette is nominated for Jagged Little Pill. Then you've got some previous nominees from the pop world. You've got Michael Jackson for History, Past, Present, and Future, Book 1, and Mariah Carey nominated for Daydream. Then finally, the Grammys really had a lot of Joan Osborne stock this year. She is nominated for her album, and I'll pause a second here and see, be honest, can anyone actually remember the name of the full album that one of us was on? It was called Relish. But before we get to the winner, let's talk about some albums from 1995 that were not nominated. I gave such an exhaustive list last year, let's cut it down a little bit. Some really big ones for me are What's the Story Morning Glory by Oasis and The Great Escape by Blur. These two albums were so much the story of the year, the whole battle of Britpop and these two warring bands who didn't get along and both released singles on the same day and had these two great albums. That didn't mean anything to the Grammys. To be fair, What's the Story Morning Glory was released October 2nd, so kind of towards the end of the year, and most of its success happened in 1996, but still kind of crazy. You also had Radiohead's The Bends. Radiohead does not have any nominations at this point. You've got Rancid's amazing follow-up to Let's Go and Out Come the Wolves. Raekwon the Chef with his classic Only Built for Cuban Links. He got left out of the whole nominate members of Wu-Tang Clan with solo albums thing. And then finally you had No Doubt's Tragic Kingdom, which will get some nominations in the next couple of years, but nothing in the year that it actually came out. And the Album of the Year winner is...
Jagged Little Pill. Alanis Morissette.
Hell yeah. This win is so important. This was Alanis' fourth Grammy of the night, making her the night's big winner. She also won Best Female Rock Vocal Performance for You Oughta Know, Best Rock Song Period for You Oughta Know, and Best Rock Album. And first of all, I'm just happy it went to an artist under 60. In fact, Alanis became the youngest Album of the Year winner ever tonight, beating out Barbra Streisand's record that had stood for 30 years. Barbra was 22 when she won in 1964, and Alanis is 21. But that record will be broken again in the future, and then broken again. But this win is everything. It was a huge critical and commercial success. It was a cultural moment. Alternative music finally gets a win, and it looks like that review committee actually did its job. This is probably the best Grammys of the whole decade. I know it won't last, but they did a good job tonight. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time for the highs and lows of the 39th Grammys in 1997.